Olivia Bennet was 8 years old when she first understood that her older sister, Isabella, didn't quite love her in the way most sisters should. The day was a golden Californian afternoon. Sunlight slanting warmly through the windows of their modest home in Santa Monica, painting the kitchen with strokes of amber. Olivia sat at the small dining table, carefully coloring a picture of a sunflower, blissfully unaware of the brewing storm around her. Isabella, 3 years older and infinitely more ambitious, had just come home from her piano recital. She stormed into the room, her footsteps echoing sharply on the wooden floor. Olivia looked up excitedly, her small face alight with admiration and love. "How did it go, Izzy?" Olivia asked, hopeful, eager to share in her sister's triumph. Isabella glanced at her sharply, eyes narrowed in frustration. "How do you think it went?" "It was awful. Emily Matthews took first place again." She threw her sheet music onto the table, nearly toppling Olivia's crayons. Olivia reached out instinctively to steady the crayons, her heart sinking a little. "But I'm sure you played beautifully." "You're always so good," she offered gently. "You wouldn't understand," Isabella snapped. "Mom and Dad always say everything you do is perfect. You don't even have to try." The bitterness in Isabella's voice made Olivia flinch. Even at 8, Olivia sensed there was something wrong in the undercurrents of her sister's jealousy, something deeper than a simple bad day. Their mother, Helen, stepped into the kitchen at that moment, sensing the tension. Helen Bennet was a graceful woman in her late 30s. Her gentle face lined only slightly from years of raising 2 spirited daughters. She smiled warmly, trying to defuse the situation. "Isabella, sweetheart, don't be upset. There's always next time. You practiced hard, and we're very proud of you." She moved forward, offering Isabella a comforting hug. But Isabella shrugged her mother off coldly. "You always say that. Then you go bragging to everyone about Olivia's silly drawings. It's not fair." Helen glanced helplessly at Olivia, whose cheeks flushed crimson with embarrassment. Olivia quickly closed her sketchbook, hiding her drawings as if ashamed of them. Isabella noticed this gesture and scoffed bitterly before storming off to her room. In the silence that followed, Helen knelt beside Olivia, placing a comforting hand on her daughter's shoulder. "Honey, don't let Izzy upset you. She's just feeling disappointed today." Olivia nodded quietly, her large hazel eyes glistening with unshed tears. She loved Isabella dearly, but moments like these made her feel guilty simply for existing. That night, Olivia lay awake, staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars her father had stuck to her ceiling. She wondered if she had done something wrong, something that made Isabella so angry. She vowed silently to herself, as only children can, that she would try harder, do better, and somehow make Isabella happy. As the years passed, the competition Isabella imagined between them only intensified. Olivia grew used to stepping aside, surrendering small victories just to see her sister smile again. If Isabella wanted the prettier doll, Olivia would willingly hand it over. If Isabella wanted the bigger slice of cake, Olivia quietly took the smaller piece. Her young heart quickly learned to find happiness not in winning, but in seeing her sister's brief moments of satisfaction. By the time Olivia turned 16, she had perfected the art of staying in Isabella's shadow. Isabella, 19 and full of vibrant ambition, blossomed into a stunning beauty, her dark hair and sharp features contrasting strikingly with Olivia's softer, golden curls and gentle disposition. On Olivia's 16th birthday, their father, Robert Bennet, planned a small family dinner. A jovial man, Robert was the heart of their home. His laughter-filled rooms and his steady presence was a constant reassurance. He loved his daughters deeply, though the tension between them puzzled and saddened him. As Olivia blew out her candles, she glanced cautiously toward Isabella, silently wishing for harmony rather than a birthday gift. Later, as they opened presents, Isabella's displeasure grew visible. Olivia had received a new camera, something she'd quietly wished for since she discovered her love for photography. "Of course, Olivia gets exactly what she wants," Isabella muttered sourly. barely audible but loud enough for Olivia to hear. Robert caught the murmured complaint and sighed. Izzy, it's Olivia's special day. Please, don't make this about anything else. Isabella glared at Olivia, her lips tight with unspoken resentment, then stood abruptly and excused herself, her footsteps echoing bitterly up the stairs. Olivia's heart sank. Maybe I should give her the camera, Dad. I don't want Izzy upset. Her father shook his head, gently placing a reassuring hand on hers. No, Olivia. You deserve happiness too. Isabella needs to learn that there's enough love for both of you. But despite his comforting words, Olivia carried her sister's resentment like a shadow, always present, always casting darkness on moments that should have been filled with joy. The camera became Olivia's refuge, her way of seeing beauty in the world and capturing moments of peace. Through the lens, she found a voice that Isabella's bitterness could not silence. Still, Olivia always remained careful, hiding her achievements, downplaying her passions, hoping to avoid further conflict. High school graduation came swiftly. Isabella had already moved out, working in luxury retail, her ambition glittering like the diamond jewelry she sold. Olivia, quietly excelling in school, prepared to pursue her dream, opening a small bakery and coffee shop. The night of Olivia's graduation, Isabella made a rare appearance at home. She came dressed impeccably, a striking figure that turned heads as she walked. Olivia greeted her warmly, genuinely happy to see her sister. You look beautiful, Izzy, Olivia complimented sincerely. Thanks. Isabella replied coldly, looking away dismissively. I suppose congratulations are in order. Olivia smiled weakly, sensing the thinly veiled disdain. Thank you. I'm just glad you came. Isabella glanced sharply at her younger sister. I only came because Mom insisted. Don't think you've achieved anything remarkable. Everyone graduates high school. The words cut deeply. But Olivia forced a gentle smile. I know it's nothing special. I'm just glad to celebrate with family. Isabella narrowed her eyes slightly, seeing Olivia's continued humility as an annoyance. You're always playing the perfect daughter. It's exhausting. Before Olivia could respond, Isabella moved away, greeting other relatives, leaving Olivia standing alone, feeling smaller than ever. As the night wore on, Olivia wondered if their relationship would ever improve. She longed to share a genuine sisterly bond, free from bitterness and envy. But Isabella's resentment only seemed to grow deeper, leaving Olivia to question if her kindness had done more harm than good. That night, under the familiar glow-in-the-dark stars, Olivia made a new wish, a wish for strength, clarity, and someday understanding. Little did she know, this wish would set in motion events that would ultimately test and reshape both their lives in ways neither sister could yet imagine. The next morning, Olivia woke before dawn, unable to shake the unease from Isabella's words the night before. She slipped quietly from her bed, pulling a thick cardigan over her shoulders as the cool coastal air whispered through her open window. Walking softly down the hallway, she paused outside Isabella's old room, a room now carefully arranged as if awaiting her sister's return. Olivia gently pushed the door open, stepping into the dim space illuminated only by the soft, gray glow of early morning. The room smelled faintly of Isabella's perfume, lingering despite her months-long absence. Photographs from Isabella's high school days sat carefully framed on her desk, and trophies from piano competitions lined a shelf, gleaming softly. Olivia felt a familiar ache, a mix of pride in her sister's achievements and sadness for the emotional distance that had grown between them. She moved to sit on Isabella's bed, fingers brushing the soft comforter. Memories flooded her mind, childhood nights when Isabella comforted Olivia after nightmares, the rare days when Isabella's mood softened, and she allowed Olivia to follow her like a shadow, basking in the rare warmth of sisterly affection. Olivia's chest tightened painfully. She wondered if Isabella ever remembered those tender moments or if bitterness had permanently replaced the gentle sister Olivia once idolized. Her reverie was interrupted by quiet footsteps approaching. Olivia turned sharply to see her mother standing in the doorway, watching her silently, eyes gentle with understanding. "You miss her too, don't you?" Helen said softly, entering the room and sitting beside Olivia. Olivia sighed deeply, leaning into her mother's warmth. "I do, Mom. More than she'll ever understand." Helen gently stroked Olivia's hair, her fingers tender. "Izzy is complicated, honey. She's always been driven by things none of us fully understand. But beneath it all, I think she's more fragile than she shows." Olivia looked up, puzzled. "Fragile? Isabella?" Her mother nodded, eyes distant. "Your sister fears failure deeply, Olivia. She wants validation so badly. It blinds her. She sees your quiet strength and kindness as something she can't compete with." Olivia frowned. "But I'm not competing. I just want her to be happy." "I know you do, sweetheart," Helen said softly. "But Isabella needs to find happiness within herself first. And until then, all we can do is love her from afar." Olivia let the words settle into her heart, finding truth in their quiet wisdom. Perhaps she couldn't change Isabella's heart, but she could at least continue to offer kindness, patiently hoping her sister might one day find peace. Later that morning, Olivia went downstairs to help her father make breakfast, a cherished Saturday tradition in the Bennett household. The kitchen was alive with warmth, the comforting aromas of pancakes and fresh coffee filling the air. Robert greeted her with his usual bright smile. "Morning, Livy," he said cheerfully. "Did you sleep well?" Olivia forced a brighter expression, determined not to burden him. "Pretty well. Pancakes smell delicious." He chuckled lightly, eyes twinkling affectionately. "Extra blueberries. Just how you like them." As they cooked side by side, Olivia cherished these peaceful moments. Her father was her rock, steady and comforting amidst the unpredictable tides of family dynamics. Robert seemed to sense Olivia's lingering unease, but didn't push her. Instead, he quietly supported her through his warm, reassuring presence. The sound of the doorbell interrupted their breakfast preparation. Robert wiped his hands on a towel, moving to answer it. Olivia continued flipping pancakes, humming softly. But she soon heard voices, familiar voices, and turned curiously toward the door. Isabella stood in the hallway, elegant even this early in the day, dressed in designer clothing, her face unreadable. "Isabella." Robert greeted her warmly, genuinely delighted. "What a pleasant surprise. Join us for breakfast." Isabella hesitated, her expression momentarily softening. Then she caught sight of Olivia watching her from the kitchen, and the guarded mask returned. "I can't stay long. I just came to pick up some documents I left in my old room." Robert's smile faded slightly, disappointment evident. "Oh, I see. They're probably still in your desk." Isabella brushed past Olivia, without acknowledgement, ascending the stairs with purpose. Olivia felt her heart sink once more. Why did Isabella make each encounter feel like rejection? Minutes later, Isabella returned, documents in hand. She paused briefly at the kitchen doorway, clearly uncomfortable. Olivia gathered courage, stepping forward. "Izzy," Olivia said gently, holding out a plate of pancakes. "Take some breakfast for the road. Dad made extra." Isabella looked momentarily caught off guard, her cold demeanor softening at the edges. For a fleeting instant, Olivia saw vulnerability flash in her sister's eyes. But just as quickly, Isabella hardened again. "No, thanks," Isabella said curtly, glancing away. "I have to go." She left hurriedly, the door clicking shut behind her, leaving a lingering chill in the room. Robert sighed, visibly saddened by Isabella's brief appearance. "I wish she knew she was always welcome here. She doesn't need to be so distant." Olivia gently squeezed her father's hand, offering comfort though feeling a similar ache. "She'll come around one day, Dad. I'm sure she will." Yet, privately, Olivia wasn't so certain. Isabella seemed determined to build walls, fortifying herself against any display of genuine affection from family. Still, Olivia vowed silently, yet again, to never abandon hope. Maybe someday, Isabella would understand the love she rejected so vehemently. That night, as Olivia lay in bed beneath the familiar glowing stars, she pondered her mother's words again. Could it be that Isabella's jealousy wasn't simply anger, but fear? Was it possible her sister envied Olivia's calm heart more than any material gift or attention? Perhaps Isabella needed love more deeply than she'd ever admit. Olivia's eyes filled softly with tears, bittersweet with newfound understanding. She whispered softly into the dark, speaking to no one but herself. "I promise I'll never stop loving you, Izzy. Even if you push me away, I'll always be here." Sleep came slowly, but eventually, it embraced her in its gentle arms. Dreams danced quietly through Olivia's mind, visions of healing, of laughter shared, and of a future she hoped was still possible, even for two sisters so deeply divided by envy and misunderstanding. Unbeknownst to Olivia, however, Isabella lay awake across town, heart wrestling with an unnamed ache she stubbornly denied. As dawn approached once more, two sisters lay beneath the same California sky, hearts connected by unseen threads of hope and sorrow, not yet realizing their intertwined fates were just beginning to unfold. Weeks passed, melting swiftly into months. Isabella's visits grew increasingly rare, as though each passing day pushed her further from the embrace of her family. Yet Olivia continued to hold on to the slim threads of hope, believing that, eventually, Isabella would come around. In the meantime, Olivia poured herself into her passion. She began working tirelessly, studying recipes, attending workshops, and planning her dream bakery cafe, an intimate, cozy place where anyone could feel at home. With gentle encouragement from her parents, Olivia secured a small but charming shopfront near Santa Monica Pier. The old building, painted a faded turquoise from the salty sea breeze, had the perfect touch of whimsy she envisioned. It was a warm July morning when Olivia received the keys to her new cafe. Her excitement was palpable as she stepped inside, eyes bright with possibility. Sunlight streamed through the large windows, illuminating worn wooden floors that whispered stories of previous owners and past lives. She envisioned cozy tables, the scent of fresh pastries, and the cheerful murmur of satisfied customers. Yet, despite the joy of the moment, she couldn't help but feel a tinge of melancholy. She had invited Isabella to celebrate with her but had received no response. Olivia shook off the disappointment, reminding herself that Isabella was probably busy. She refused to let sadness dim this milestone. Later that afternoon, while Olivia and her parents cleaned and painted the cafe walls a warm, buttery cream, laughter echoed through the empty space. Olivia stepped back for a moment, soaking in the happiness of the moment. But the cheerful atmosphere was suddenly disrupted by the sharp click of high heels against the wooden floors. They turned in unison to see Isabella standing in the doorway, her elegant figure sharply contrasting the casualness of the cafe. Her perfectly manicured hand rested lightly against the doorframe, a hesitant smile on her lips. Isabella, their father greeted warmly, immediately putting down his paint roller. "You came." Olivia, hopeful once again, stepped forward eagerly. "Izzy, you made it." Isabella glanced around the cafe with a detached interest. "So, this is the big dream, huh?" Olivia smiled shyly. "It is. I'm glad you're here to see it." Isabella nodded slowly, her eyes carefully guarded. "Congratulations, Olivia. I'm sure it will be adequate." The faint praise felt like an icy splash of water, but Olivia refused to let it shake her resolve. "Thank you, Izzy. It means a lot to me that you're here." Their mother stepped in gently, sensing tension. "Izzy, can you stay for dinner tonight? We'd love to have you." Isabella's eyes flickered briefly, hesitation showing before she masked it again. "I can't, Mom. I have a dinner date with someone important." "Someone important?" Robert echoed curiously, attempting casual conversation. "Who might that be?" Isabella's expression shifted, pride seeping into her stance. "Lucas Hamilton." Helen's eyes widened. "The Hamiltons? That's quite impressive, Isabella." Isabella smirked lightly, clearly enjoying the reaction. "Well, one of us had to aim high," she said pointedly, eyes drifting to Olivia's humble cafe. Olivia swallowed thickly, hurt seeping quietly beneath her skin, though she refused to let it show. "That's wonderful, Izzy. I hope you have a great time. Isabella studied Olivia briefly, perhaps searching for signs of envy or bitterness, but found only genuine warmth reflected back. Visibly unsettled by this unexpected response, Isabella straightened her posture sharply. I really should be going. Congratulations again, she murmured, turning on her heel and leaving the cafe in abrupt silence. Robert let out a deep sigh. She didn't need to say it that way. Helen gently placed a hand on Olivia's shoulder. You know Isabella. She always feels the need to prove something. Olivia nodded quietly, her voice gentle but resolute. It's okay, Mom. Izzy deserves happiness too, even if it looks different from mine. Despite her words, Isabella's fleeting visit left Olivia feeling more determined than ever. She chose to channel her emotions into the cafe, transforming the small space into a sanctuary. Soon enough, Sunrise Cafe opened its doors to the local community, quickly becoming a beloved spot for its comforting pastries, delicious coffee, and Olivia's welcoming smile. Months rolled by peacefully, with Olivia's life blossoming into a fulfilling rhythm. But the peace was punctuated occasionally by whispers from acquaintances about Isabella's flourishing romance with Lucas Hamilton, heir to the renowned Hamilton Hotel's empire. Gossip painted their relationship in glittering hues, speaking of luxury trips, lavish dinners, and the looming possibility of a grand wedding. Yet, beneath the sparkling surface, Olivia occasionally caught glimpses of Isabella's true state through fleeting meetings. Her sister's eyes carried a lingering dissatisfaction, a hidden vulnerability behind her flawless facade. Despite Isabella's carefully maintained aloofness, Olivia's intuition sensed her sister's increasing desperation for approval and, deeper still, for love. Then, on a bright Sunday morning, Olivia was preparing pastries behind the cafe's counter when Isabella unexpectedly walked through the door again, this time alone. Olivia paused, her heart quickening. Isabella approached quietly, her demeanor unusually reserved. Hi, Olivia. Isabella began hesitantly, her voice softer than usual. Olivia wiped flour from her hands, stepping closer cautiously. Hi, Izzy. What brings you here? Isabella looked around uneasily, eyes finally settling on Olivia's gentle face. Lucas and I got engaged last night. Olivia's heart skipped momentarily. Oh, that's wonderful news, Izzy. Congratulations. Isabella nodded slightly, her expression complicated. You're invited to the engagement party next weekend. Lucas's family expects it to be perfect, naturally. Olivia caught the underlying anxiety in her sister's voice, an unspoken plea behind her eyes. I wouldn't miss it for anything. And Izzy, I'm really happy for you. Truly. A strange, fleeting softness crossed Isabella's features. You really mean that, don't you? Of course, Olivia whispered earnestly. You deserve to be happy. For a brief, unguarded moment, Isabella's eyes glistened with tears, but she quickly looked away, composing herself again. Thank you, she murmured quietly before turning abruptly and leaving once more, the cafe door softly chiming behind her. In the quiet moments afterward, Olivia stood still, absorbing their interaction deeply. Perhaps there was hope yet. Isabella, despite everything, had come to her first, reaching out in her own guarded way. Maybe, just maybe, beneath all the rivalry and resentment, a seed of sisterly affection remained. Olivia's heart softened. The cafe had taught her the value of patience, care, and warmth, qualities she would continue to nurture, quietly and tirelessly. Until perhaps one day Isabella would realize that true happiness wasn't something won through envy or competition, but through sincere, unconditional love. That night, Olivia lay under her familiar starry ceiling again, whispers of hope threading softly through her thoughts. Isabella's walls might be high, built from years of rivalry and bitterness, but Olivia was certain love was stronger still. And she knew, deep down, their journey toward healing had only just begun. The engagement party for Isabella and Lucas Hamilton was as lavish as everyone expected, a celebration of wealth, beauty, and exclusivity. Hosted at a sprawling Beverly Hills estate owned by Lucas's family, The Hamilton mansion stood proudly atop a gently sloping hill, its marble columns gleaming under the evening lights. Luxurious cars lined the driveway, their polished surfaces reflecting the glittering attire of elegantly dressed guests. Olivia arrived quietly. Stepping out of her modest sedan dressed in a simple yet elegant lavender gown that complemented her gentle personality. Her golden curls cascaded loosely over her shoulders, framing her delicate features and soft eyes. Despite her outward calm, her heart raced with anxiety at the grandeur surrounding her. As she entered the mansion, Olivia took in the splendor of the enormous hall adorned with sparkling chandeliers, golden accents, and elaborate floral arrangements cascading from ornate vases. Waitstaff dressed impeccably in black and white moved gracefully, offering champagne flutes and hors d'oeuvres. Her eyes instinctively searched for Isabella, hoping to catch a comforting glimpse of her sister among the unfamiliar faces. Instead, Olivia spotted Isabella standing proudly at the center of attention, her hand confidently resting on Lucas's arm. Isabella was breathtaking, dressed in a shimmering emerald gown that highlighted her striking beauty and fierce confidence. Lucas Hamilton himself was the very picture of sophistication, tall, impeccably dressed, his dark eyes calm yet calculating as he effortlessly greeted guests. Olivia noticed that he carried himself with an authoritative air that commanded respect but left little room for warmth. Taking a deep breath, Olivia moved toward the couple, her heart quickening slightly as Isabella's gaze met hers. "Olivia," Isabella greeted formally, her tone measured and composed. "Thank you for coming." Lucas observed Olivia coolly, his expression polite but detached. "You must be Isabella's sister." "Pleasure," he said, extending his hand briefly in a firm handshake. Olivia smiled warmly despite his indifferent greeting. "Congratulations, Lucas. I wish you both all the happiness." He inclined his head slightly, already looking past her to greet another guest. Isabella, however, seemed momentarily unsettled, shifting her weight as though trying to regain her composure. "Enjoy yourself tonight," Isabella said quietly, her voice tinged with a subtle tension. "This event is important." Olivia heard the unspoken message clearly. This night mattered deeply to Isabella's carefully constructed dream. Olivia nodded reassuringly, offering an encouraging smile before moving away discreetly. Wandering through the elegant crowd, Olivia felt somewhat out of place among the grandeur. Conversations drifted around her, hushed whispers about business dealings, real estate, and society gossip. She caught snippets of talk about Isabella and Lucas, some openly admiring, others skeptical and whispering of scandal and ambition. Olivia found herself wondering how much of Isabella's decision was driven by true affection or merely by the allure of status. She eventually found herself standing by an open terrace overlooking perfectly manicured gardens bathed in the gentle glow of lanterns. The cool night air brought relief to her flushed cheeks. Olivia took a calming breath, feeling comforted by the serenity outside the bustling ballroom. "You're Isabella's sister, aren't you?" A gentle voice drew her from her reverie. Turning, Olivia saw a young man standing nearby, his eyes kind and curious. He appeared comfortable but also slightly out of place, like her. His gentle demeanor was refreshingly genuine amidst the otherwise calculated atmosphere. "Yes, I'm Olivia." "And you are," she replied softly. "Ethan Carter." He introduced himself with a friendly smile. "I'm photographing the event. Freelance photographer, at your service." Olivia relaxed visibly, feeling a spark of kinship. "I admire photographers greatly. I dabble a bit myself." Ethan's eyes lit with genuine interest. "Do you? I'd love to see your work sometime." Olivia flushed slightly, feeling unexpectedly comfortable in his presence. "I have a small cafe in Santa Monica. Photography is more of a hobby, but I display a few of my favorites there." He smiled warmly, intrigued. "I'll definitely stop by then." "What's your cafe called?" "Sunrise Cafe," Olivia answered proudly. "It's humble, but it's my passion." "Passion," Ethan echoed thoughtfully, his expression sincere. "That's something money can't buy." "I respect that immensely." Their conversation flowed naturally, easing Olivia's earlier discomfort. Ethan's openness contrasted starkly with the carefully controlled facade of the Hamilton world. For the first time that night, Olivia felt genuinely at ease. Their conversation was briefly interrupted by the tinkling of glasses. Lucas had taken center stage, standing beside Isabella, who glowed brightly under the room's spotlight. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate our engagement tonight," Lucas began confidently, his voice calm and authoritative. "Isabella and I look forward to the many prosperous years ahead, merging our worlds and building an even greater legacy." The speech was short, direct, and businesslike, devoid of warmth, but heavy with expectation. Polite applause rippled through the hall. Olivia clapped gently, stealing a glance at Isabella. For a fleeting moment, beneath Isabella's confident exterior, Olivia glimpsed vulnerability, a crack in her armor, an unspoken doubt buried deeply. Soon afterward, Isabella managed to slip away briefly, approaching Olivia discreetly near the terrace. Olivia immediately sensed the rare vulnerability in her sister's demeanor. "You're leaving soon?" Isabella asked softly, uncharacteristically hesitant. Olivia nodded gently. "Yes, but Izzy, if you ever need anything, remember I'm here. Always." Isabella's eyes flickered with emotions she struggled to conceal. "Olivia, you don't have to pretend to care so much. Not after how I've treated you." Olivia reached out gently, touching her sister's arm. "Izzy, no matter what, you're my sister. You'll always matter deeply to me." Isabella's mask wavered once more, a silent struggle evident in her eyes. But quickly regaining control, she nodded stiffly. "Thank you. For coming tonight, I mean." Olivia smiled warmly. "Always." As Isabella rejoined Lucas and the glittering crowd, Olivia quietly exited the mansion, feeling both hope and worry tugging at her heart. The night had revealed something crucial. Beneath Isabella's polished facade and determined ambition lay a woman uncertain of the path she had chosen. Driving home under the quiet moonlight, Olivia's thoughts remained with Isabella. She knew the journey ahead would be challenging for both sisters, but she remained steadfastly committed to offering love, support, and understanding, hoping one day Isabella might find the courage to follow her true heart. Back in her cozy bedroom beneath her comforting stars, Olivia reflected deeply, grateful to have found unexpected kindness in Ethan's genuine company. As she closed her eyes, hope mingled with uncertainty. But Olivia knew with quiet certainty that no matter how tangled their paths became, the bond between sisters remained powerful. That bond, she believed, would someday guide them toward healing, forgiveness, and true understanding. For now, all Olivia could do was patiently wait, her heart open and her spirit resilient, confident that love, in the end, would always prevail. Weeks passed quietly after Isabella's glamorous engagement party. Olivia found herself absorbed once again in the comforting rhythm of her cafe, finding joy and fulfillment in every carefully baked pastry and perfectly brewed cup of coffee. Sunrise Cafe quickly became a local favorite, drawing customers with its welcoming atmosphere and Olivia's genuine warmth. Yet beneath her gentle exterior, Olivia remained deeply concerned about Isabella, quietly wishing for some sign that her sister was truly happy. On a quiet afternoon, while rearranging pastries behind the glass counter, Olivia heard the soft chime of the cafe door opening. She glanced up, surprised and delighted to see Ethan Carter stepping inside, camera bag casually slung over his shoulder. His eyes lit up when they met hers, a smile spreading easily across his face. "Ethan, you really came!" Olivia exclaimed happily, moving to greet him warmly. "Did you doubt me?" Ethan teased gently, his eyes sparkling with amusement. "I promised I'd visit, didn't I?" Olivia laughed softly, a flush warming her cheeks. "I'm glad you did. Welcome to Sunrise Cafe." He looked around appreciatively, his keen eyes taking in every carefully placed detail. "It's wonderful here. Warm, genuine, exactly how I imagined it." His genuine praise filled Olivia with quiet pride. "Thank you. Would you like something to drink?" Or perhaps a pastry? Both, please. Surprise me, Ethan replied lightly, settling comfortably into a seat near the sunny window. As Olivia prepared a cappuccino and selected a freshly baked almond croissant, she felt an unfamiliar flutter of excitement. Ethan's easygoing presence brought warmth and ease to her heart, something she hadn't realized was missing until now. She placed his order on the table, joining him briefly as the cafe's afternoon lull allowed a peaceful moment. So, how was the engagement party from your perspective? Olivia asked curiously, sipping her own coffee. Ethan hesitated thoughtfully, choosing his words carefully. Honestly, beautifully staged, expertly presented, but somewhat hollow, at least behind the scenes. Olivia nodded quietly. I sense the same thing. Isabella wants happiness, but I'm not sure she understands where to find it. Ethan regarded her gently. She's fortunate to have a sister like you. It's clear you care deeply. Olivia smiled softly, a bit sadly. Sometimes, caring doesn't feel like enough. Izzy's always seen my affection as competition, and I don't know how to bridge that gap. Ethan leaned forward slightly, sincere and reassuring. Just keep being you, Olivia. Your warmth is contagious. Eventually, Isabella might let her guard down enough to see it. His words warmed her heart, resonating deeply within. Thank you, Ethan. I needed to hear that. Their conversation flowed effortlessly afterward, touching on photography, pastries, and shared passions. Ethan's presence felt natural, comforting, and unexpectedly invigorating. By the time he left, Olivia felt lighter, happier, and quietly hopeful, both for her sister and for herself. The weeks continued peacefully, with Ethan's visits becoming a comforting routine. Their friendship blossomed effortlessly, filling Olivia's quiet life with joyful anticipation. Yet, even amidst this newfound happiness, Olivia still worried deeply about Isabella. Especially as wedding preparations intensified and Isabella's presence became even scarcer. One rainy afternoon, Olivia received an unexpected call. The screen flashed Isabella's name, immediately sparking both relief and apprehension. Hello. Olivia answered cautiously. Olivia, can you meet me somewhere private? Isabella's voice trembled faintly, an unsettling note of vulnerability. Of course. Where? Palms Park, near the old bench we used to sit on. I need someone to talk to. Olivia's heart clenched painfully. I'll be there soon. She found Isabella waiting anxiously under the park's gazebo, sheltered from the steady drizzle. Isabella looked unusually fragile, her eyes rimmed slightly with redness, her elegant facade cracked and vulnerable. Isabella, Olivia spoke gently, approaching cautiously. Are you all right? Isabella shook her head slowly, tears threatening to spill. Olivia. What am I doing? I'm supposed to be happy, I'm getting everything I wanted, yet I feel trapped. Olivia reached out instinctively, placing a comforting hand on Isabella's trembling shoulder. Izzy, you don't have to do anything you don't want to. You deserve true happiness, not just a facade. Isabella's eyes searched Olivia's face desperately, her voice shaking. But this is what I chased my whole life: status, money, success. If I turn back now, who am I? You're still Isabella, Olivia said firmly, gently. You're my sister. You're the strong, brilliant woman I've always admired, even when you didn't see it yourself. Isabella's tears spilled freely now, her guarded heart finally cracking open. How can you still say that, Olivia? After how I've treated you. I spent my entire life being cruel, jealous, competitive, and still, you show me kindness. I don't deserve it. Olivia's voice softened with sincerity. Love isn't about deserving, Izzy. It's unconditional. No matter what's happened, I'll always be your sister. Isabella sobbed quietly, shoulders shaking with the weight of her emotions. For the first time, she leaned into Olivia's embrace without resistance, seeking comfort in the sister she had pushed away for years. When her tears subsided, Isabella wiped her eyes gently, voice raw and honest. I don't know if I can break free from all this, Olivia. The expectations, the lifestyle, Lucas, everything is so complicated. Olivia met Isabella's gaze steadily. No matter what you decide, Izzy, I'll stand by you. Just promise you'll listen to your heart and choose your own happiness, not someone else's. Isabella nodded slowly, her eyes filled with quiet gratitude. Thank you, Olivia. Truly. For being stronger than I ever was. The two sisters sat silently for a long while afterward, sheltered beneath the gazebo as rain softly pattered around them. In that fragile yet meaningful silence, the distance between them began to shrink, replaced by a budding understanding neither expected but both desperately needed. Later that evening, as Olivia returned home, she carried an overwhelming sense of relief. Isabella's guard had finally lowered, allowing a tentative bridge of sisterhood to rebuild between them. Olivia knew the path ahead would remain challenging, perhaps painful, but hope had finally begun to bloom, fragile yet resilient. That night, beneath the comforting glow of her ceiling's familiar stars, Olivia felt peace for the first time in years. Her gentle heart had endured years of rivalry and misunderstanding, but patience and love had slowly begun to triumph, planting seeds of healing in the soil of their complicated sisterhood. Olivia drifted off to sleep, hopeful that the bonds fractured by envy and rivalry were finally beginning to mend, setting both sisters on a journey toward redemption, forgiveness, and ultimately, true happiness. Their healing had just begun, and Olivia believed, now more than ever, that love, quiet, enduring, unconditional love, could transform even the deepest scars into something beautiful. In the weeks following their emotional meeting at Palms Park, Isabella once again retreated into silence. Olivia, though concerned, gave her sister the space she needed, choosing patience and quiet optimism over immediate intervention. Her life continued quietly, filled with the steady rhythm of the cafe and Ethan's warm presence, both sources of growing happiness. One crisp autumn morning, as the golden hues of the California coastline deepened, Olivia was busy arranging freshly baked pastries behind the counter when her phone buzzed again, another unexpected call from Isabella. Olivia, I need to see you urgently. Can you meet me at my apartment? It's important. Olivia didn't hesitate. Of course, Izzy. I'll be right there. She quickly entrusted the cafe to her capable assistant and drove straight to Isabella's luxury apartment in Beverly Hills. Approaching the sleek high-rise, she felt slightly out of place, but pushed her discomfort aside, focusing on Isabella's urgent tone. When Isabella opened the door, Olivia was immediately struck by how distressed her sister looked. Gone was the polished, confident woman who had confidently navigated high society. Instead, Isabella appeared vulnerable and tired, her eyes red from tears. What's wrong, Izzy? Tell me, Olivia gently prompted. Stepping inside, Isabella led her silently into the spacious living room. The luxurious decor now seemed sterile, devoid of warmth or genuine comfort. She took a shaky breath, gathering courage before speaking. Lucas. He's been seeing someone else. I confronted him, but her voice broke. He didn't even deny it. He just told me it's something I need to accept. Part of the agreement I unknowingly signed up for. Olivia's heart sank at the pain etched deeply into her sister's features. Oh, Izzy, I'm so sorry. You don't deserve any of this. Isabella laughed bitterly, tears filling her eyes again. Maybe I do, Olivia. I chased this life so blindly, hurt people to get it, especially you. Now I have everything I thought I wanted. Yet I've never felt more alone or empty. Olivia took Isabella's trembling hands, squeezing gently. Izzy, listen to me. You deserve love and respect. Nothing you've done makes it okay for Lucas to treat you this way. You can walk away from this, start again. Fear flashed in Isabella's eyes. But what would I do? This life, this image, it's all I have left. Everyone will talk, judge me. I'll be nothing. You'll never be nothing, Olivia reassured firmly. You're Isabella Bennett, a strong, resilient woman. You deserve real happiness, Izzy, not an illusion. For a moment, Isabella hesitated, the weight of years of ambition and bitterness clashing violently within her heart. She finally raised tear-filled eyes to Olivia's gentle gaze, her voice barely audible. Would you help me, Olivia? Would you help me find my way back? Olivia smiled softly, tears glistening in her own eyes. Always, Izzy. You're my sister. Nothing will ever change that. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Isabella finally broke completely, sobbing openly as Olivia embraced her. Years of pain, jealousy, rivalry, and unspoken affection poured out freely between them, each tear washing away the bitterness that had built walls between them. When Isabella finally calmed, Olivia wiped her sister's tears gently, determination firm in her heart. Izzy, we'll figure this out together. But first, you must decide what you truly want, not what others expect. But what will make you truly happy? Isabella's voice steadied, newfound resolve strengthening her. I want peace, Olivia. Simple peace. The kind you've always had. Then let's start by leaving this place behind, Olivia suggested softly but firmly. Come stay with me until you find your footing. Isabella hesitated only briefly before nodding in agreement. Trust finally evident in her eyes. Okay, I'll go with you. In a matter of hours, Isabella packed a small suitcase, abandoning the hollow grandeur of her life with Lucas. As they drove back to Santa Monica, Isabella watched the towering luxury buildings shrink in the rearview mirror. Olivia sensed her sister's mixed emotions, reaching out to grasp her hand reassuringly. We'll take it one step at a time, Olivia promised softly. Together. When they arrived at Olivia's cozy apartment, Isabella glanced around, visibly comforted by the warmth radiating from the simple space. It was far from her luxurious past, but there was a genuine, comforting intimacy that had always eluded her before. In the days that followed, Olivia watched as Isabella slowly adjusted, shedding layers of artificial perfection and gradually finding genuine peace. Isabella began joining Olivia in the cafe, quietly helping with small tasks, greeting customers with gentle smiles, and finding satisfaction in simple acts of kindness. On a calm evening, Ethan visited again, his smile warm as he greeted both sisters. Isabella observed Olivia's easy rapport with Ethan, quietly recognizing the depth of connection blossoming between them. Later that night, Isabella approached Olivia softly. You and Ethan, there's something special there, isn't there? Olivia blushed slightly, eyes gentle. He makes me happy, Izzy. Isabella smiled warmly. The first truly genuine smile Olivia had seen from her sister in years. You deserve happiness, Olivia. True happiness. And I'm sorry it took me so long to see that. Olivia embraced Isabella tightly, gratitude and affection mingling deeply within her heart. It's never too late, Izzy. You're home now. That's all that matters. In the gentle warmth of their rekindled bond, the wounds of the past slowly began to heal. Isabella's envy gradually faded into quiet admiration, realizing her sister's quiet strength had always been rooted in compassion rather than competition. That night, beneath familiar glowing stars, Isabella and Olivia sat together on the small balcony overlooking the moonlit ocean. Their laughter filled the night, free and genuine for the first time in years. Olivia felt the quiet certainty of healing within her heart, grateful to finally share true sisterhood with Isabella once more. As Isabella drifted off to sleep in the adjacent room, Olivia reflected deeply, her heart overflowing with gratitude. Though the path had been long and filled with pain, the seeds of rivalry planted in their childhood had finally bloomed into understanding, compassion, and love. In the quiet stillness of her room, Olivia closed her eyes, smiling softly to herself. She now understood more clearly than ever that true happiness could never be found in wealth, status, or competition. It had always existed quietly, patiently, waiting within the gentle embrace of family, forgiveness, and unconditional love. Their journey toward healing had finally begun. Rooted deeply in the seeds of genuine sisterhood, ready at last to flourish. Isabella Bennet woke up to the unfamiliar smell of cinnamon and freshly brewed coffee. The gentle morning light filtered through pale curtains, casting a warm glow across the small bedroom. It wasn't the silk-covered king-sized bed of the Hamilton penthouse. It was smaller, cozier, and without the suffocating silence of a place built more for display than for comfort. She turned on her side and stared at the ceiling. For the first time in years, she didn't feel like she had to leap out of bed and put on a mask. No maids knocking. No mother-in-law inspecting her. No husband reminding her she was merely a decorative piece to the Hamilton legacy. Just quiet. Just herself. The door creaked open slightly. Olivia peeked in with a tray. "I thought you might be up. I made those cinnamon scones you always liked. And coffee. Cream and sugar, like old times." Isabella sat up slowly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You remembered." "Of course," Olivia said softly, placing the tray on the nightstand. There was an awkward pause. "I haven't had breakfast in bed in I don't know how long," Isabella murmured. "You haven't had kindness in a while," Olivia replied with a sad smile. Isabella looked down at the cup, her fingers wrapped tightly around the warmth of the ceramic mug, as if anchoring herself. "I forgot how this felt," she whispered. "Peace. Being safe." Olivia sat at the edge of the bed, her expression gentle. "You can stay here as long as you need, Izzy. There's no timeline on healing." For a moment, Isabella's eyes shimmered again, but this time, she didn't cry. She nodded slowly and took a sip of coffee, letting the heat settle inside her. "I don't even know where to begin," she said, voice low. "Everything I built, it was fake. Lucas never loved me. His family just needed a convenient bride who would look good in pictures and keep quiet. I traded my dignity for a seat at their table." "You don't need to unpack it all right now," Olivia reassured her. "Just start with today." That day, Isabella followed Olivia to Sunrise Cafe. It was still early, and the air carried a slight chill, the kind that hinted at changing seasons. The cafe was alive with the comforting scent of baked goods and warm lighting. It wasn't glamorous, but there was love in every corner, in the mismatched chairs, the customer thank you notes pinned near the register, the pictures Olivia had taken with her old camera now framed on the walls. A few regular customers glanced up and did double takes when they saw Isabella. She looked different, no designer clothes, no stilettos, no practiced smile. Just jeans, a soft sweater, and eyes that were finally beginning to see clearly. Olivia handed her a soft apron. "Want to help with the register?" Isabella blinked. "You trust me with customers?" Olivia laughed. "I trust you more than I trust that finicky espresso machine." Despite herself, Isabella smiled. Her first genuine smile that morning. She learned quickly. She greeted people. She wrote down names for to-go orders. She wiped down tables. The physicality of it all exhausted her, but in a strange way, it grounded her. There was no pressure to impress, no judgmental gazes, no manipulation. Only people ordering pastries, asking about their day, and genuinely caring about the answer. And then, just before the lunch rush ended, Ethan walked in. Isabella immediately noticed how Olivia lit up, not exaggerated, not giddy, but calm and radiant. The way she looked at him spoke volumes. And Ethan? He walked straight to Olivia like there was no one else in the room, gently brushing a crumb off her cheek without saying a word. Isabella cleared her throat dramatically. "Am I interrupting something?" Ethan turned, sheepish. "Isabella. Hey, it's good to see you again." She raised an eyebrow. "You too, lover boy." Olivia blushed. "He's not, we're just friends." Ethan gave Olivia a sideways look. "For now." Isabella smirked. "Well, it's about time someone appreciated my sister." The words hung in the air. It wasn't just a joke. It was the first real acknowledgement that Isabella had, for once, stepped out of her own orbit to truly see Olivia. And it mattered. That evening, the sisters walked home together. The sun had begun its descent, casting an orange glow over Santa Monica. People strolled along the boardwalk. Children laughed. The scent of ocean salt drifted in the breeze. "Ethan seems good for you," Isabella said after a long silence. "He is," Olivia replied. "But I wouldn't rush it. After everything, I've learned to build slowly. On real things." Isabella nodded. "Yeah, real things." They stopped at a bench overlooking the ocean. It was the same one their family used to visit on Sunday evenings. Back when everything was simpler. "Do you remember Isabella said quietly, "How I used to say I hated this view." Olivia smiled softly. "You said it was boring. That the ocean never changed." "I was wrong," Isabella murmured. "It's always moving. It's just peaceful about it." They sat in silence, letting the ocean speak for them. Beneath the sound of the waves, beneath the cooling air and the rhythmic rise and fall of the tide, something shifted. Not everything was fixed, but something had begun. A house built on envy and status had crumbled, but a new one built on truth, humility, and the hard work of healing was slowly rising in its place. And this time, it would be real. The following days settled into a rhythm, a different one from the life Isabella once knew, but one she began to crave. She still woke early, but not because a demanding husband expected breakfast by 6 a.m. She woke because she wanted to help Olivia prepare the cafe. The sunrise through the windows no longer felt like a mocking start to a thankless day, but instead, a quiet reminder she had survived and she was changing. In the back kitchen of Sunrise Cafe, Isabella rolled out dough clumsily, her designer hands now dusted with flour and effort. Olivia stood nearby, gently correcting her when she pressed too hard or shaped uneven edges. "I can't believe I'm struggling with pastries," Isabella muttered, half annoyed, half amused. "I once negotiated a merger over lunch with the CEO of a biotech firm." "Pastries don't care about your mergers," Olivia teased, winking. "They only care if you're gentle." Isabella cracked a smile, something she did more often now, less as a defense. More because she felt safe. Gentle. Right. That's going to take some practice. Olivia paused, wiping her hands on her apron. "You're already practicing." It wasn't just about dough. Isabella knew that. Later that afternoon, the cafe buzzed with its usual charm. Locals filtered in for their midday coffee. Kids stopped by for Olivia's famous strawberry scones. And even the grumpiest customers seemed to soften in the glow of the place. Isabella moved among them with a grace she never knew she had. Not the forced poise she'd worn like armor at Hamilton events, but a quiet, unassuming warmth that surprised even herself. People called her Liv's sister now. Some didn't recognize her at all. And she preferred it that way. One customer, a middle-aged woman in a faded blue cardigan, told her, "You've got your sister's smile." Soft and honest. Isabella blinked, stunned for a moment. She'd spent her entire life trying not to be like Olivia, but now she felt nothing but pride to be mistaken for her. That evening, the sisters cleaned up side by side. The closing routine had become something of a ritual, sweeping floors, flipping chairs onto tables, humming along to the soft jazz Olivia always played after hours. Ethan arrived just as they were wiping down the counters. "Evening, ladies," he greeted, camera bag slung casually over his shoulder. "Evening, camera boy," Isabella shot back, playfully. "Should I be worried about how comfortable you're getting here?" Ethan smirked. "You should be worried about how good my scones are getting," Isabella replied, tossing a towel at him. Olivia laughed freely, openly. "She's not lying. I think I'm going to lose my title as head baker soon." Ethan pulled out his camera and aimed it at the two sisters, snapping a candid photo before either could pose. "Hey," Isabella exclaimed. "At least let me fix my hair." "Nope," Ethan said. "That's the real version of you I want to capture." Isabella stared at him for a beat, surprised by how much the statement meant. Later that night, as the photo developed on Ethan's laptop, Isabella leaning against the counter, a smudge of flour on her cheek, Olivia beside her laughing, he emailed it to both of them with the subject, "This is home." Isabella stared at it long after Olivia went to bed. It wasn't perfect. Her smile was a little crooked. Her apron was wrinkled. Her eyeliner had smudged. But for the first time in years, she saw herself and didn't flinch. She saw a woman who had chosen to start over. She saw family. And she saw a future not defined by mansions, diamonds, or magazine spreads, but by early mornings, soft jazz, the scent of coffee, and the quiet redemption of daily, ordinary grace. That night, as she lay under a secondhand quilt in a modest guest room in Santa Monica, Isabella whispered a promise to herself. I won't go back to glass walls and cold floors. I'm building something real now. Outside, the waves whispered in agreement. The next morning, Isabella woke to the sound of birdsong and the faint scent of vanilla drifting through the air. She stretched, still unfamiliar with the comfort of waking up without dread clawing at her chest. For a moment, she simply lay there, her body still and her mind unusually quiet. She got up, tiptoeing into the kitchen where Olivia was already at the counter, whisking something in a bowl. She wore her usual half-messy ponytail, apron dusted with flour. Eyes crinkled in quiet joy as she hummed along to an old Carole King song playing on the radio. Isabella leaned against the doorway, watching. "You always made it look so easy," she said softly. Olivia turned, surprised but smiling. "Mornin'. Sleep well. Better than I ever did in that penthouse. You're welcome to stay as long as you want, Izzy. This house doesn't have an expiration date." Isabella gave a short laugh. "You really mean that, don't you?" "Always." After breakfast, they opened the cafe and Isabella surprised Olivia by saying, "I think I'm ready to work the counter alone today." "You sure?" "I want to earn this." Not just the apron, she paused, glancing at the navy apron Olivia had embroidered with her name. "But everything." Olivia nodded, quietly proud. "Then it's yours." Throughout the day, Isabella greeted customers with a newfound energy. She remembered names. She asked about people's dogs, their kids, their weekends. She made mistakes, accidentally giving someone the wrong muffin, forgetting an oat milk order, but instead of crumbling under embarrassment, she laughed it off, apologized, and kept going. One elderly man chuckled after she handed him a scone and said, "You've changed. You used to walk around with your chin so high, I thought you'd break your neck." Isabella grinned. "Yeah, well, falling from grace will do that to a girl." The man smiled, surprisingly kind. "Falling's not the worst thing. Not getting back up is." When Olivia returned from running errands and saw Isabella handling a long line of customers, hair in a messy bun, sleeves rolled up, laughter echoing in the cafe, she felt something shift deep inside her. For the first time, she wasn't carrying the hope of their relationship alone. Isabella was choosing to show up. Every day. Not perfectly, but honestly. That evening, they sat on the back patio of Olivia's apartment, sipping tea. The sun dipped low on the horizon, streaking the sky with apricot and rose. Silence settled between them, soft and companionable. Then Isabella said, "Do you remember the gold bangles you gave me on my wedding day?" Olivia nodded slowly. "They were Mom's. She wanted us to pass them down one day. I pawned them. A few weeks after the wedding. Lucas thought they were too traditional. Said I didn't need to hold on to sentimental junk." Olivia looked down quiet. "I'm sorry, Liv," Isabella added quickly. "I was so blind. I gave up pieces of myself just to be seen as enough in his world." "You don't have to explain," Olivia said. Voice even. "You're here now. That's what matters." "I want to get them back," Isabella said, with quiet resolve. "Not because I think Mom would be proud, but because I want to make it right." Olivia reached over, gently squeezed her hand. "Then we will." They sat there a while longer, stars beginning to twinkle into view above them. In the distance, the ocean whispered against the shore. Isabella turned to her sister, eyes thoughtful. "You know, I used to think you were weak. That your kindness was just passivity. But now I see it takes strength, real strength, to keep being kind when the world keeps telling you not to be." Olivia smiled, looking up at the stars. "Kindness isn't weakness. It's survival. And healing." Isabella exhaled slowly, letting the truth of that wash over her. And for the first time in her life, she believed it. She believed she could be someone new, not by erasing who she was, but by growing from it, by honoring the broken pieces instead of hiding them. And in that moment, under a quiet sky in Santa Monica, a house of glass was finally left behind. In its place, a home. Real. Earned. Loved. Built brick by brick, with flour-dusted hands, morning coffee, and two sisters learning how to be whole again. 3 weeks after moving into Olivia's apartment, Isabella stood outside Lux Pawn and Collectibles, an upscale pawn shop nestled in downtown Los Angeles. The signage gleamed gold against the tinted windows, and for a moment, she hesitated. It wasn't the store that made her heart race, it was what she had left inside. The gold bangles. Their mother's bangles. Heavy with tradition, memory, and guilt. Olivia stood beside her, calm as ever. Her presence grounding. "We can go home if you're not ready," she offered. Isabella shook her head. "No, I need to do this." The bell above the door jingled as they entered. The scent of polished wood and old velvet hung in the air. Behind the counter stood a man in his 60s, with slicked-back gray hair, gold rings on every finger, and half-moon glasses perched on his nose. "Welcome, ladies," he said in a gravelly voice, sizing them up. "How can I help you?" Isabella stepped forward. 3 months ago, I pawned a pair of antique gold bangles. I'd like to reclaim them. He tilted his head. "Do you have the slip?" She nodded, pulling a folded receipt from her purse. Her hands shook slightly. He adjusted his glasses, scanned the paper, then disappeared into the back room. Olivia reached out and gently touched her sister's arm. "You okay?" "I feel like I'm about to face my younger self in a courtroom," Isabella whispered. Except she was wearing heels, pride, and a mask. "And I'm standing here with none of those things." Before Olivia could respond, the man returned with a small velvet pouch. He placed it on the counter and opened it slowly, revealing the bangles nestled inside like ancient artifacts. Isabella stared. She remembered slipping them off without hesitation, brushing away the sentiment with the same ease she once used to push Olivia aside. But now? Now they felt like weight and redemption rolled into one. She reached out, hesitating an inch from the velvet. The man cleared his throat. "They've been appraised. Given the time frame and condition, the buyback is $680. Isabella swallowed. "I have it," she said quietly, pulling an envelope from her coat. The money came from her savings, what little she'd managed to keep after the Hamilton divorce process began. Lucas didn't fight her on assets. He didn't care. She was just another file in his legal team's inbox. She handed the envelope over. The man counted quickly, nodded, and passed her the pouch. Isabella took it with both hands, as if holding something sacred. Back in the car, she finally opened the pouch on her lap. The bangles glinted in the sunlight. She held one up, watching how it caught the light. "I used to think they were heavy," she said softly. "Like chains. Now, they feel like something I want to carry." Olivia glanced at her. "You're not the same woman who left them behind." "No," Isabella said, tears gathering at the corners of her eyes. "I think I'm becoming someone Mom would have been proud of." That evening, after the cafe closed, Isabella brought the bangles into Olivia's bedroom. "You should take them back," she said. "They were always meant to be yours. Mom wanted you to have them." Olivia looked up from the book in her lap, surprised. "Izzy, you just went through so much to get them back." "I didn't go through it to keep them," Isabella replied, voice clear. "I went through it to face what I did, and to make it right." She placed the pouch on Olivia's nightstand and turned to leave. But Olivia stood and hugged her tightly, the kind of embrace that said more than words ever could. "I'm proud of you, Izzy," she whispered. Isabella blinked back tears. "I'm learning to be proud of me, too." The next day, word quietly spread through the cafe. Not gossip, not scandal, just stories. Customers noticed Isabella's gentleness, the way she listened. An elderly woman with arthritis mentioned how Isabella now helped her carry her coffee every morning without being asked. A single dad said Isabella remembered his daughter's name and always included a heart-shaped cookie in her bag. The regulars started calling her Izzy, not Miss Bennett. And it made her smile. On Thursday evening, Olivia handed her a small wrapped box. "You've earned something." Isabella opened it carefully. Inside sat a new name tag, wooden, hand-carved, with gold letters that read, "Izzy, co-owner." Her eyes widened. "Olivia." "I can't." "You already have," Olivia said. "I didn't build this place to run it alone forever. And let's be honest, your scones are better than mine now." Isabella laughed, blinking quickly. You're insane. I'm serious, Olivia grinned. You rebuilt your life from dust. You're not a guest here anymore, Izzy. This is your home, too. Izzy stared at the name tag, the weight of it as profound as the bangles had been. But instead of guilt, this time she felt something new. Pride. Earned. Real. She turned to Olivia. Then let's make this place the warmest cafe in California. And together, they walked to the window and flipped the sign to closed, laughing as the neon sunrise cafe flickered behind them. Outside, the streetlights blinked to life one by one, painting the world in gold. Not the kind you wear, the kind you carry inside. By the weekend, word about Sunrise Cafe's new co-owner had quietly spread through the neighborhood. Locals who once whispered about Isabella Bennett, the high society divorcee who'd married into money and fallen hard, now smiled at her with something unexpected. Respect. There was a new atmosphere in the cafe. Not louder, not flashier, just deeper. The way Isabella now greeted each customer wasn't rehearsed or forced. It came from a place that had been reshaped by fire, softened by humility, and anchored by Olivia's unwavering grace. And it was this transformation that drew the attention of someone neither sister expected. It happened on a Tuesday. Olivia was in the kitchen, humming as she whipped vanilla cream. When the bell above the front door rang, Isabella, tying her apron, stepped out with a practiced, cheerful voice. "Good morning. Welcome to Sunner." Her voice stopped mid-sentence. Standing in the doorway was Margaret Hamilton, Lucas's mother. Impeccably dressed in a tailored ivory suit, diamonds at her ears, heels polished to a mirror shine. Her hair was swept into a severe bun, and her presence was like cold marble, elegant, unmoved, and hard. "Mrs. Hamilton," Isabella said quietly, stiffening like a soldier called to attention. The older woman took a slow step forward, eyes scanning the warm, inviting cafe as if trying to place its scent, its texture, into a world she had never respected. "So this is where you ended up," she said, voice flat. Olivia, hearing the shift in tone, peeked out from the kitchen, wiping her hands nervously on a towel. She recognized Margaret instantly. The woman had barely acknowledged her during Isabella's wedding. She was from another world, a world of control, strategy, and wealth-bound courtesy. "I see you've traded a penthouse for pastries," Margaret added, her gaze finally settling on Isabella. Isabella held her chin steady. "Yes, I have." There was silence. Then Margaret asked, almost mockingly, "Do you regret it?" Isabella surprised both her and Olivia when she responded without hesitation. "No," she said. "Not for a second." Margaret's eyebrows arched. "Really? You gave up an empire for cookies and foam art?" Olivia stepped beside her sister. "Not cookies," she said softly but firmly. "Community. A life. Freedom." Isabella added, "And I didn't give up an empire. I walked away from a cage." Margaret blinked. For the first time, the mask cracked. She looked, if only for a brief second, human. Not cruel, not calculating. Just tired. She walked to a nearby table, running her manicured hand along its edge. "I never told you this," she said, eyes distant. "But I wasn't Lucas's father's first choice. He married me because it made sense. Socially. Economically. I did what was expected. I became what was needed. Nothing more." The air in the cafe changed. Softer. More sorrowful. "I saw you doing the same," she continued. "And I told myself it was tradition. That you'd adapt. Become what Lucas required. I didn't realize you were breaking." Isabella's voice was gentle. "We both were." Margaret finally looked at her. For the first time, not with superiority, but with something closer to understanding. "I came here to judge," she admitted. "To confirm your failure." But now, she looked around again. Taking in the laughter of a couple in the corner, the smiling barista in the back, Olivia's framed photos on the walls. "Now I wonder if you're freer than I ever was." Isabella took a slow breath. "I am." Margaret nodded once. "Then maybe I was wrong." And without waiting for further reply, she turned and walked out, the bell above the door chiming once more. She left behind the scent of expensive perfume and decades of silent suffering. The sisters stood in silence for a long moment. Olivia was the first to speak. That was unexpected. Isabella exhaled. She's lived in glass longer than I did. And I think she just saw what it looks like from the outside. That evening, the two sisters stayed late at the cafe, stringing up autumn garlands and cinnamon-scented candles along the window. Isabella climbed the ladder while Olivia held it steady, both laughing as dried leaves rained down. I was thinking, Isabella said as she hung the final garland, about starting baking classes here. For single moms. Or kids. Maybe weekend workshops. Olivia looked up in surprise. You're serious? Isabella grinned. I've seen what this place can do. I want to spread that. Pass it on. A warm silence passed between them. Then Olivia said, You're more than passing it on, Izzy. You're becoming the heart of this place. For once, Isabella didn't argue. Didn't deflect. She just nodded. And when they locked the doors that night, stepping out into the cool autumn air, Isabella looked back at the cafe. Once, she thought gold was what you wore. Now she knew it was what you gave away. And the dust she'd once thought meant failure? It was where things grew. Autumn melted slowly into winter in Santa Monica, and Sunrise Cafe became a kind of sanctuary. On rainy days, the windows fogged up with warmth from the ovens, and customers doodled hearts and names into the condensation. On bright, chilly mornings, locals lined up for Olivia's rosemary biscuits and Isabella's now famous orange almond scones. The community knew the sisters by name now. The Bennett girls, as they were affectionately called, one known for her soft-spoken heart, the other for her sharp wit and newfound humility. But Isabella still carried embers of her past. Some days, the weight of who she used to be burned like a phantom limb. It showed in how she folded towels with perfect corners, how she triple-checked every email, how she instinctively said yes, of course, even when she meant no, thank you. And sometimes, it showed in her nightmares. One night, she bolted upright in Olivia's guest room, breath caught in her throat. In her dream, she'd been back in the Hamilton mansion, surrounded by glass and mirrors. Lucas's voice echoed in her head flat. Cold, disinterested. But what hurt more wasn't what he said. It was what she had said back. Whatever you want, I'll be. Even in sleep, those words tasted like ash. The next morning, Isabella moved slowly through the cafe's prep routine. Olivia noticed. Rough night? She asked gently. Isabella nodded, pressing her hands into a ball of dough. It's strange. I'm finally free. But sometimes I still feel chained. Olivia didn't try to fix it. She simply said, healing is like baking. Time, pressure, heat, it's not comfortable. But it transforms. That afternoon, Ethan stopped by. He leaned against the counter, sipping his coffee, watching Isabella as she helped a teenager decide which cupcake to try. When the girl left smiling, he grinned. You've changed. She raised an eyebrow. Is that your subtle way of saying I'm no longer terrifying? Not terrifying, Ethan said thoughtfully. Just unreachable. You used to walk into a room like it owed you something. Now you walk in like you're listening. Isabella smirked, but her eyes softened. I think I was listening back then. Just to the wrong things. Ethan tapped his cup. There's a photography gallery next Friday. My work's in it. You and Olivia should come. Isabella blinked. Wait, your work? Like, framed on walls? Yeah. I do more than take latte art pics for fun, he teased. Come support me. She nodded. We'll be there. As the week passed, Isabella found herself thinking about the gallery more than she expected. Not because of the art, but because of how Ethan saw her. Not as Lucas's ex-wife, not as someone broken trying to be fixed, but as someone in progress. Whole, even in her rebuilding. The night of the gallery arrived with cold wind and twinkling streetlights. Olivia wore a simple black dress with a floral scarf. Isabella chose a deep green sweater and dark jeans, nothing flashy, but warm. Real. The gallery buzzed with quiet conversations and soft music. Ethan's photos lined one wall, stark images of hands kneading dough, People laughing in cafes, sunbeams through fogged glass. And right at the center, a black and white photo of Sunrise Cafe's front window, with Isabella's silhouette visible behind it, placing a tray of muffins into the display case. She stared at it, stunned. "I didn't know you took this," she whispered as Ethan appeared beside her. "I didn't know what it would mean when I took it," he said. "But now? It's the moment I saw someone choosing to start again." Isabella swallowed hard, emotions brimming. "Thank you," she said. And she meant it. Later that night, walking home through quiet streets, Olivia gently linked arms with her sister. "You okay?" she asked. "I think so," Isabella murmured. "But it's strange. I'm still scared sometimes. Like part of me is always waiting for the world to take this from me. Like I don't deserve it." Olivia stopped walking. "Then let me remind you of something." She turned to face her sister fully. "You didn't just leave a bad marriage, Izzy. You left the version of yourself who believed you were only worthy if someone else approved of you. That's not a small thing. That's not a phase. That's rebirth." Isabella's throat tightened. "I don't know who I'm becoming." Olivia smiled. "No one does at first. But I do know you're not that woman in the penthouse anymore." "Who am I then?" Isabella asked, almost like a child. "You're the woman who gets up early to bake scones. Who knows every regular's name. Who carries bangles she once pawned. Who takes photos of the ocean just because it makes her feel free. You're becoming someone whole." They stood there in silence, surrounded by the quiet hum of the city, its lights blinking like stars too stubborn to wait for darkness. Finally, Isabella whispered, "Then I'll keep becoming her." And they walked the rest of the way home, two women who once lived in rivalry, now side by side. Not perfect, not finished, but finally free. The weeks that followed brought subtle shifts, almost imperceptible to anyone outside, but undeniable to Olivia and Isabella. The cafe grew not just as a business, but as a sanctuary for healing, laughter, and new beginnings. Isabella found herself waking early, not out of obligation, but because she wanted to. She began volunteering at a local community center on weekends, teaching baking classes to teenagers with troubled pasts. The dusty classroom where she worked was a far cry from the polished boardrooms she once dreamed of conquering. Yet every smile she received made the exhaustion fade. One brisk Saturday, while mixing dough with a group of teenagers, she caught a glimpse of herself in the stainless steel oven door. Flour dusted her cheeks, hair escaping from a loose bun, and a genuine smile tugged at the corners of her lips. She paused, breathing in the sweet scent of yeast and hope. Somewhere deep inside, the ember that once burned with envy and ambition had softened into a warm glow of purpose. Meanwhile, Olivia's cafe blossomed into a hub of community connection. Locals shared stories over coffee. Artists displayed their works on its walls, and the sisters hosted weekend open mic nights that filled the air with music and laughter. Olivia's quiet strength, paired with Isabella's growing warmth, created a balance neither could have achieved alone. One evening, after a particularly lively open mic, Ethan approached Isabella. "You've come a long way," he said quietly, offering her a glass of wine. She took it, eyes reflecting the twinkling fairy lights above. "More than I ever thought possible." Ethan smiled. "It shows." Isabella looked out at the crowd, people clapping, singing, connecting. "I'm starting to believe that the only thing worth chasing is a life worth living, not one that looks good on paper." Ethan raised his glass. "To chasing what matters." They clinked glasses, the sound ringing clear and hopeful. One chilly December morning, as snow lightly dusted the sidewalks of Santa Monica, a rare but beautiful sight, the sisters prepared for the cafe's first holiday fundraiser. The event aimed to support families in need and featured homemade treats, warm drinks, and stories of resilience. Isabella stood by the entrance, greeting guests with a gentle smile. A little boy tugged at her sleeve. "Are you the princess who bakes cookies?" he asked, wide-eyed. She knelt to meet him at eye level. "I guess you could say that." The boy giggled, his mother watching nearby with gratitude. Olivia joined them, pulling Isabella into a quick hug. "Look at you, everyone's favorite princess." Isabella laughed softly. I'm more of a queen of flower right now. As the evening unfolded, the warmth inside the cafe rivaled the cold outside. Stories were shared, tears shed, and laughter echoed long after the last cookie was eaten. After the crowd had thinned and the lights dimmed, Olivia and Isabella sat together, tired but content. Do you remember how scared you were the night you first came here? Olivia asked. Isabella nodded. Every moment felt like walking on glass. Olivia smiled. Now look at you. You're not just walking on it, you're building on it. Isabella reached for her sister's hand. Thank you for never giving up on me. Olivia squeezed her hand gently. Always, Izzy. Always. Under the soft glow of holiday lights, two sisters sat side by side, their hearts mended not by gold or grandeur, but by grace, forgiveness, and an unbreakable bond. And in that quiet moment, they knew no matter what storms might come, their house of glass had finally been replaced by a home built to last. Winter gave way to spring. And with it came fresh beginnings, not just in the world outside, but deep within the lives of Olivia and Isabella. The soft blossoms and warming days mirrored the growth they felt inside themselves. Isabella woke up one morning with a quiet determination. It was time to make her freedom permanent, not just by walking away from her past, but by fully embracing her future. She sat at the kitchen table, fingers tracing the worn wood grain, and picked up the phone. Mom? It's me, she said softly, voice steady. The conversation that followed was long and filled with tears, apologies, and promises. It wasn't perfect. But it was honest, a bridge slowly being rebuilt across years of silence and misunderstanding. Meanwhile, Olivia was preparing for the cafe's first anniversary. They had planned a celebration with music, local artists, and their closest community. She glanced over at Isabella, who was busily arranging flowers on each table, her smile genuine and free. Can you believe it's been a year? Olivia said, walking up behind her sister. Isabella laughed softly. Sometimes it feels like I'm still waking up from a long, strange dream. Olivia squeezed her shoulder. It's been a beautiful one. As the sun set, the cafe filled with laughter and light. The warmth was palpable, not just from the candles or the ovens, but from the community the sisters had nurtured together. Lucas Hamilton was a distant memory, a shadow they no longer feared. Isabella caught Olivia's eye across the room and nodded, a silent vow that whatever came next, they would face it as sisters, equals, and friends. Later that night, as the last guests left and the cafe grew quiet, Olivia and Isabella sat on the front steps beneath a sky bursting with stars. I think we're finally home, Isabella whispered. Olivia smiled, leaning her head on her sister's shoulder. Yes, and this time we're building something real. Together. They watched the night stretch endlessly before them, a canvas for all the dreams still waiting to be painted. And this time, the story was theirs to write. Spring had brought new life to Santa Monica. And with it, a deepening sense of peace between the Bennett sisters. Their bond, once fractured by envy and ambition, had begun to flourish. Much like the blooming jasmine vines that now framed the cafe's entrance. One morning, as the soft sunlight filtered through the kitchen window, Isabella found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought her here. The gold bangles, the painful memories, the lonely nights, all were threads in the tapestry of her growth. She decided it was time to face another part of her past. Isabella dialed a number she had avoided for years. Hello, came the tentative voice of her mother, Helen. Mom, Isabella began. Voice steady but warm. I'd like to visit. To talk. The reunion was emotional. Tears were shed and apologies exchanged. They spoke openly for the first time about expectations, disappointments, and the misunderstandings that had driven them apart. Helen looked at Isabella with renewed respect. You've become the woman I always hoped you'd be, strong, compassionate, and true to yourself. Isabella smiled, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. Thank you, Mom. I'm learning to forgive and to be forgiven. Back at the cafe, Olivia watched her sister's transformation with pride. The woman who had once sought validation in status now found fulfillment in authenticity. One afternoon, A local artist asked to display a painting inspired by Sunrise Cafe, a vibrant canvas of two figures standing side by side beneath a golden sunrise. Olivia and Isabella stood before it, hands intertwined. "New roots," Olivia said softly. Isabella nodded. "Branches that reach toward healing." As they opened the cafe doors to welcome another day, the sisters knew their journey was far from over, but together, they could weather any storm. For in the end, family was not about perfection. It was about growth, forgiveness, and the enduring power of love. Summer arrived in Santa Monica with a gentle warmth that wrapped around the town like a soft blanket. The scent of salt air mixed with blooming flowers, and Sunrise Cafe was busier than ever. Olivia and Isabella worked side by side, the rhythm of the cafe's bustling days and quiet evenings weaving their lives closer together. One afternoon, as Isabella was organizing a small book exchange shelf near the window, a young woman approached tentatively. "Excuse me, are you Isabella Bennett?" she asked softly. Isabella looked up, nodding. "My name is Maya. I read about you and your story in the local paper. I'm going through something similar." Isabella gestured to the empty seat beside her. "Tell me about it." Maya spoke of her struggles, feeling trapped in a life defined by others' expectations, battling to find her own voice. Isabella listened, her heart swelling with empathy. "You're not alone," she said firmly. "And you're stronger than you know." That evening, Isabella shared the conversation with Olivia. "Maybe it's time we start hosting workshops here, support groups for women finding their way." Olivia's eyes sparkled. "Yes, we can create a space not just for coffee and pastries, but for healing and hope." Plans were quickly set in motion. Soon, Sunrise Cafe became more than a business. It was a community hub, a sanctuary for second chances. Isabella found joy in mentoring Maya and others like her, discovering that helping others heal also helped her heal. One late summer night, as the cafe closed and the stars blanketed the sky, Isabella stood on the small balcony, breathing deeply. Beside her, Olivia smiled. "Look at you, blooming in ways you never thought possible." Isabella turned, eyes shining with gratitude. "Thanks to you and to a journey I never wanted but needed." They embraced, two sisters bound not just by blood, but by shared strength, resilience, and the unbreakable promise of new beginnings. Together, they were ready to face whatever came next, rooted firmly in love, courage, and the enduring light of hope. The months that followed were filled with growth, not only in the thriving cafe, but within the hearts of Olivia and Isabella. The community workshops flourished, drawing women from all walks of life who sought comfort, guidance, and the courage to reclaim their own stories. One crisp autumn morning, Olivia and Isabella stood outside the cafe, watching as a small crowd gathered for the day's workshop, a celebration of resilience and transformation. Isabella smiled, a lightness in her step. "Who would have thought a year ago this place would be so alive?" Olivia laughed softly. "Not me. But I always believed in what we could build together." Inside, the workshop began with laughter, tears, and stories shared over cups of steaming coffee. Isabella found herself listening deeply, offering gentle words of encouragement and realizing how far she had come. Later, as the sun dipped low and the cafe quieted, Isabella took Olivia's hand. "Thank you," she whispered, "for believing in me, for never giving up." Olivia squeezed her hand gently. "We saved each other, Izzy, and we'll keep doing it together." For they had learned the most important truth, that true family, true love, and true happiness are born not from perfection or privilege, but from grace, forgiveness, and the courage to start again. Winter was retreating, and with the first hints of spring, the air around Sunrise Cafe grew alive with promise. The neighborhood buzzed quietly, and so did the sisters, each day weaving new threads into the tapestry of their shared life. One morning, as Olivia prepared fresh pastries, Isabella brought in a small sapling wrapped in burlap. "For the cafe," Isabella said, her eyes bright. "A cherry blossom tree. Something to remind us that, even after the harshest winters, life blooms again." Olivia smiled warmly. Perfect. Let's plant it together. They stepped outside, digging into the earth with care and hope. As they worked side by side, the soil soft and rich beneath their hands, they spoke quietly about dreams, fears, and the future. Isabella paused, looking at the tiny tree. We're planting more than a tree today, aren't we? Olivia nodded. We're planting roots for us, for the community. For all the new stories still waiting to grow. Under the pale blue sky, with soil on their hands and love in their hearts, the sisters planted a seed of tomorrow, one that would flourish through seasons of change, nourished by the strength they found in each other. And as the first delicate blossoms bloomed in the coming years, so too did their lives, a testament to healing, hope, and the endless power of love's renewal. Years had passed since Isabella first walked into Sunrise Cafe with nothing but a handful of regrets and a heart full of hope. The cherry blossom tree she and Olivia had planted now stood tall and radiant in front of the cafe, its pink petals a symbol of resilience and renewal. The sisters had grown not only in their bond but in themselves. Isabella was no longer the woman defined by rivalry and ambition. She had become a leader in the community, a mentor to many who walked paths similar to her own. Olivia's cafe was a beacon of warmth and kindness, a place where stories were shared and lives changed. One bright spring afternoon, Isabella and Olivia stood beneath the cherry blossom tree, watching children play nearby. The air was sweet with the scent of blooming flowers, and the laughter of friends and neighbors filled the space between them. Isabella turned to Olivia, her eyes shining. Do you remember how far we've come? Olivia smiled, squeezing her sister's hand. I do, and I'm grateful every day that we found our way back to each other. A gentle breeze scattered petals around them, like blessings from the past. Together, they had turned pain into purpose, envy into empathy, and shattered glass into a home. As the sun set, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose, the sisters knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, rooted in love, forgiveness, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. Their story had come full circle, and it was just the beginning. Spring turned to summer, and Sunrise Cafe flourished, becoming a beloved gathering place not only for Santa Monica locals, but for visitors drawn to its warmth and story. The cherry blossom tree outside stood as a living symbol of the sisters' journey, its branches reaching wide, offering shade and hope. Isabella sat at a corner table, sipping tea and reviewing plans for a new mentorship program she and Olivia were launching, aimed at empowering young women to find their own paths away from toxic expectations. Olivia joined her, placing a small wrapped box on the table. For you, she smiled. Isabella opened it carefully. Inside lay a delicate bracelet, gold, simple, and engraved with the words, "Strength in Sisterhood." Tears welled in Isabella's eyes. It's beautiful. Like you, Olivia said softly. And a reminder of what we've built together. They clasped the bracelets on their wrists, a tangible bond of love and resilience. Later that evening, as twilight bathed the cafe in gentle hues, they stood beneath the cherry blossoms, petals drifting like soft rain. Our story, Isabella whispered, is more than survival. It's a legacy. Olivia nodded. A legacy of light. And beneath the blooming branches, two sisters stood united, hearts forever intertwined, ready to shine for generations to come. Years had softened the sharp edges of their past. Isabella and Olivia stood on the threshold of new chapters, not only in their own lives, but in those they had touched. One crisp morning, a letter arrived at Sunrise Cafe, handwritten, elegant. It was from Lucas Hamilton. He wrote with humility and regret, acknowledging the pain he caused and expressing a wish to make amends. He asked for a meeting not to rekindle the past, but to seek forgiveness and closure. Isabella read the letter silently, her fingers tracing the words. She looked at Olivia, her eyes calm and steady. It's time, she said. They agreed to meet in a quiet park, a neutral place beneath ancient oaks. When Lucas arrived, he was a changed man, humbled and sincere. Their conversation was honest and healing. Words were spoken, tears shed, and bridges rebuilt, not for what was lost, but for what could still grow. Walking away, Isabella felt a peace deeper than any she had known, a full circle completed, a heart freed. She turned to Olivia, smiling. "We've built more than a home. We've built bridges." Olivia nodded. "And bridges lead us forward." Together, they walked toward the future, carrying the strength of forgiveness and the promise of new beginnings. Forever bound by the unbreakable ties of family, love, and hope. Spring unfolded into a vibrant tapestry of life around Sunrise Cafe. The cherry blossom tree had grown tall and strong, its petals falling softly like blessings over the cafe's doorstep. The sisters often sat beneath its shade, reflecting on their journey, a journey from rivalry and pain to forgiveness and love. One afternoon, Olivia announced an idea that had been blossoming in her heart. "What if we create a community garden? A place where people can grow their own food, share their stories, and nurture hope." Isabella's eyes sparkled. Yes, a garden that feeds the body and soul. Together, they rallied neighbors and friends. Soon, a once-forgotten lot beside the cafe transformed into a lush garden bursting with vegetables, herbs, and wildflowers. It became a place of gathering, healing, and growth. Isabella found joy in teaching others how to tend the earth, knowing each seed planted was a promise of renewal. Olivia coordinated workshops, weaving stories and recipes that celebrated their community's resilience. One evening, as the sun dipped low and the garden glowed in twilight, the sisters stood hand in hand. They watched as laughter and light danced among the plants, proof that from the soil of hardship, new life and hope always grow. Their story, once fractured by envy and hurt, had blossomed into a legacy of love, rooted deeply, reaching endlessly toward the future. The garden had become a heartbeat of the community, a place where neighbors gathered not only to tend plants, but to share stories, laughter, and dreams. Under the soft glow of the harvest moon, Sunrise Cafe hosted its first garden festival, an evening of music, food, and celebration. Isabella stood by the garden's edge, watching children run through rows of basil and rosemary, their faces lit with wonder. She felt a deep gratitude for the journey that had led her here, from a life of envy and pain to one filled with purpose and connection. Olivia approached, holding 2 glasses of cider. "To growth," she toasted. Isabella smiled, clinking her glass gently. "To healing." As folk music floated through the air and fireflies danced among the blooms, the sisters embraced. They had built more than a cafe or a garden. They had built a home for hope, forgiveness, and love. And beneath the light of the harvest moon, they knew their story would continue to grow, season after season, rooted in the strength they had found in each other. The years that followed saw Sunrise Cafe and its garden flourish, becoming a symbol of transformation and community spirit. Olivia and Isabella had grown into leaders, not just of a business, but of a family of souls bound by resilience and love. One crisp autumn morning, Isabella received a letter from a young woman named Maya, the same girl who had first approached her in the cafe years ago. Maya was graduating from college and wanted to thank Isabella for her mentorship, crediting her with inspiring a new path. Tears blurred Isabella's vision as she shared the letter with Olivia. "We're making a difference," she whispered. Olivia smiled. "One life at a time." That evening, the sisters sat beneath their cherry blossom tree, petals swirling like confetti around them. "Do you ever think about where we started?" Olivia asked. "All the time," Isabella replied. "And how far we've come." Olivia nodded. "We planted seeds, not just in the garden, but in hearts." Isabella reached for Olivia's hand. "And those seeds have grown wings." Together, they watched the sunset paint the sky, a canvas of endless possibilities. Their journey, once fraught with pain and rivalry, had blossomed into a legacy of hope, strength, and boundless love. And as the stars appeared, they knew they were ready to soar. The years since Isabella's return had transformed not only her own life, but the lives of everyone around her. Sunrise Cafe had grown into a beacon of warmth and healing, a place where stories of hardship were met with compassion and where new beginnings were celebrated daily. On a bright spring morning, Olivia and Isabella stood side by side behind the counter, watching as a steady stream of familiar faces greeted them with smiles and laughter. Isabella took a deep breath, the scent of fresh coffee and blooming jasmine filling her senses. She glanced at Olivia, who returned her gaze with quiet pride. "We've come a long way," Isabella said softly. Olivia nodded. "And the best part? This is just the beginning." Together, they poured steaming cups of coffee, their hearts full of hope and gratitude. The future stretched out before them, bright, open, and filled with endless possibilities. As the sun rose higher, casting golden light through the windows, the sisters shared a knowing smile. No matter what storms might come, they had each other, and that was all they needed. A new dawn had arrived. Spring deepened into summer, bathing Santa Monica in warm, golden light. Sunrise Cafe thrived not just as a business, but as a sanctuary of hope and renewal. The garden outside flourished under the sisters' care, its blooms vibrant and full of life. One morning, Isabella received a call from a local school principal inviting her to speak at a women's empowerment event. She looked over at Olivia, who smiled encouragingly. "It's time," Olivia said softly. At the event, Isabella shared her story, not as a tale of pain or rivalry, but as a testament to resilience, forgiveness, and the power of love. Her words moved the audience, inspiring many to embrace their own journeys toward healing. Afterward, standing beneath the sprawling oak tree in the schoolyard, Isabella felt a gentle breeze brush her cheek, a reminder that life, like the seasons, was a cycle of endings and new beginnings. Returning to the cafe, she found Olivia waiting with open arms. "Whatever comes next," Olivia said, "we face it together." Isabella nodded, heartful, for they had learned that the promise of tomorrow was not in what they had lost, but in what they were ready to build, rooted in love, nurtured by hope, and blossoming endlessly into the future. The years unfurled gently, and the sisters' lives intertwined with their community like the roots of the cherry blossom tree outside Sunrise Cafe, deep, strong, and nourishing. One evening, as twilight painted the sky with hues of lavender and gold, Isabella and Olivia hosted a gathering for women who had found courage through their workshops. The cafe hummed with stories of transformation, resilience, and newfound hope. Isabella glanced around the room, heart swelling. Each face told a story, not of brokenness, but of healing. Later, under the soft glow of string lights, Olivia whispered, "We're lighting the way for others now." Isabella smiled, her eyes shining. "And in doing so, we've found our own light." The shadows of the past no longer define them. Instead, their lives radiated warmth, kindness, and the quiet strength born from forgiveness. Together, they stepped into the night, two sisters bound by love, ready to illuminate the paths ahead, wherever they might lead. The soft rustle of spring leaves filled the air as Sunrise Cafe welcomed a new season. The garden bloomed with vibrant colors, a living testament to growth and renewal. Inside, the cafe was alive with conversation, laughter, and the comforting aroma of freshly brewed coffee. One afternoon, as Isabella closed the cafe, an elderly woman approached her with a gentle smile. "You remind me of someone very special," the woman said softly. "Someone who taught me about forgiveness and strength." Isabella's eyes glistened with tears. "Thank you. That means more than you know." The woman reached out and clasped Isabella's hand. "Keep passing on the grace you found. It's the most precious gift we can give." Later, as Isabella shared the moment with Olivia, they both understood that their journey had become part of a larger story, one that echoed through the lives they touched, inspiring kindness, hope, and endless grace. Beneath the cherry blossoms, they stood hand in hand, ready to carry that legacy forward. For love, they knew, was the seed from which all healing grows. The sun dipped low over Santa Monica, casting a warm golden glow across the familiar streets and the welcoming front of Sunrise Cafe. The cherry blossom tree stood proudly, its branches heavy with blooms, a living monument to the sisters' journey. Inside, Olivia and Isabella moved with quiet ease, their laughter blending with the soft hum of the cafe's evening crowd. Customers came and went, their smiles a reflection of the warmth the sisters had cultivated together. As the last guests left and the lights dimmed, the sisters stood outside, looking up at the stars beginning to twinkle in the clear sky. Isabella turned to Olivia, her eyes full of peace. "We found something precious." Olivia smiled softly. "A home, not just a place, but a feeling, a promise." They embraced, the bond between them unbreakable, forged in love, forgiveness, and resilience. No matter where life's journey led next, they knew they would always have this forever home they had built together. And beneath the vast, endless sky, two sisters stood united, ready to face tomorrow, hand in hand, heart with heart, forever.